In 539 BC, amidst the ruins of magnificent Babylon, Cyrus the Great inscribed his first declarations onto small baked clay cylinders, allowing religious freedom, respecting different faiths, and establishing racial equality. This was humanity's first charter of human rights. But now, let's fast forward the time machine over 2 millennia to modern-day Iran, a complex, multidimensional, and deeply mysterious nation in the eyes of Western media, a place where advancements in technology, medicine, and art exist side by side with the strict preservation of traditional Islamic doctrines in public spaces. How did an ancient Eurasian kingdom, once the heart of the Silk Road, undergo such complex transformations to build the uniquely insular Islamic Republic we see today? The history of Iran is not a straight line. It is a continuous molding between the proud identity of ancient Persia and the foundation of Islamic faith. Do not listen to the fleeting political news bulletins that only speak in terms of right and wrong, good and bad. Today, I will help you understand exactly why a nation chose to return to its religious roots to protect its independence against the wave of westernization. Let us step through the gates of time. Let's begin. Ancient empires usually had to cling to great rivers. Egypt had the Nile, Mesopotamia had the Tigris, China had the Yellow River. But the Persians did not. They rose from a barren plateau, manually wringing water from the desert. Drop yourself into the middle of the scorching Iranian plateau in the 6th century BC. Surrounding you is the unforgiving Dasht-e-Kavir desert, where the summer heat could melt the will of any army. But hundreds of meters underground, you would hold your breath at a marvel as magnificent as the pyramids, the qanat system. Thousands of years before modern machinery was born, Persian craftsmen called muqanni dug gently sloping underground tunnels precise to the millimeter, channeling pure water from giant aquifers hidden deep beneath the Alborz Mountains across tens, even hundreds of kilometers of desert without letting a single drop evaporate. If you connected all the ancient qanat canals of Iran together, their length could reach the moon. The qanat permanently altered the destiny of the Persians. It transformed dust and sand into brilliant oases of wheat, pumping a colossal amount of wealth into the economic bloodstream of the plateau. Instead of worshiping bloodthirsty gods, demanding sacrifices, ancient Persians were guided by Zoroastrianism, a religion honoring light, truth, and the power of life with 3 golden principles: good thoughts, good words, good deeds. That was the very foundation for Cyrus the Great to step out of the plateau and establish the Achaemenid Empire, the first superpower to encompass 44% of the world's population. Cyrus did not conquer to destroy. When he entered Babylon, he freed the enslaved Jews and funded their return to their homeland to rebuild their temple. At the ceremonial capital of Persepolis, archaeologists found tens of thousands of clay accounting tablets recording the fair payment of wages to tens of thousands of laborers from all ethnic groups who built the empire's magnificent palaces, noting even that women received maternity benefits. Violence might help you plant a flag on a piece of land, but the capacity to embrace differences and respect human dignity is what truly turns a stretch of desert into one of the greatest empires in history. Historically, when an empire is conquered by a new culture and religion, its identity usually fades away. But the Persians were different. They were not assimilated. Instead, they embraced the new religion and elevated it to its most brilliant era. In the 7th century, a storm bringing fierce cavalry units from the Arabian Peninsula flying the flag of Islam, swept into the Iranian plateau. The aging Sassanid Empire collapsed. Islam gradually replaced Zoroastrianism to become the faith of the vast majority of the population. Initially under the Arab Umayyad dynasty, the Persian people, carrying the pride of a millennial urban civilization, felt unjustly treated as second-class citizens, mawali. In that suffocating atmosphere, a powerful cultural and intellectual movement erupted known as the Shu'ubiyya. The focus of this movement was not armed violence, but the pen. Persian scholars used the very language of the Arabs and the core teachings of the Quran about the equality of all believers before Allah to argue against ethnic injustice. They preserved their Farsi language through exquisite poetry, maintained ancient festivals like Nowruz, the Spring New Year, and asserted their contributions to the Islamic world. By the 8th century, with the rise of the Abbasid dynasty, the center of Islamic power shifted to Baghdad. Here, the Persians did not merely adopt Islam, they infiltrated and enriched the very core of the civilization. Families of Persian viziers took charge of building a sophisticated administrative apparatus for the Islamic State. At the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, scholars of Persian descent, such as the mathematician al-Khwarizmi and the philosopher-physician Ibn Sina Avicenna, translated and synthesized Greek and Indian knowledge, creating monumental achievements that spearheaded the entire Islamic Golden Age. They turned the Islamic faith into an inseparable part of their national soul, simultaneously cloaking it in a layer of stunning Persian philosophy and aesthetics. Entering the 16th century. On the geopolitical map of the Middle East, Iran was squeezed between the mighty Ottoman Empire in the west, the defenders of Sunni Islam, and the wealthy Mughal Empire in the east. Amidst that encirclement, the Safavid dynasty arose. To forge a distinct national identity to avoid being dissolved or swallowed by Ottoman pressure, the Safavid kings made a defining decision, declaring Shia Islam as the state religion for the entire Iranian territory. Elevating Shia Islam, which reveres the lineage of the Prophet Muhammad, created a tight spiritual bond uniting nomadic tribes and the native populace under a single flag. From then on, Iran became the center of the Shia Islamic world. Protected by that solid armor of faith, the economy and the arts began to flourish. In 1598, the brilliant king Shah Abbas I moved the capital to Isfahan, turning it into a utopian city. The massive Naqshi Jahan Square rose magnificently with the dazzling blue-tiled domes of the Shah Mosque, giving birth to the famous proverb, "Isfahan is half the world." Step into the bustling Grand Bazaar of 17th century Isfahan. Sunlight pierced through the baked brick vaulted ceilings, illuminating a space thick with the scent of Indian spices, coffee, and pure rosewater. Remarkably, Shah Abbas I was a pragmatic and highly tolerant economist. Recognizing the commercial talents of the Christian Armenian community, he granted them land, provided funding, and allowed them to establish the autonomous district of New Julfa right across from Isfahan. This minority community was free to build churches, maintain their customs, and became the brokers who exported Iran's raw silk globally from Russia all the way to Europe. The Safavid dynasty proved that a state built on a solid religious foundation can absolutely reach the pinnacle of economic glory when they know how to combine faith with an open-minded approach and tolerance toward different communities. Rapid economic development is the dream of every nation, but if that development forgets core spiritual values and leaves the vulnerable behind, it will destroy itself. The 20th century opened with a new resource that changed the nation's destiny: oil. Under the reign of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, fueled by massive revenues from black gold, Iran entered an era of breakneck modernization and secularization. In the early 1960s, the Shah launched the White Revolution. The goals were highly ambitious: land reform, industrialization, building infrastructure, and promoting a Western lifestyle. On the surface, the capital, Tehran, was brightly lit. The streets were packed with imported cars, and students dressed in Parisian fashion sat in modern cafes. However, the forced imposition of Western values created a profound cultural and economic shock for the majority of the population. The land reform, despite its good intentions, lacked synchronized support, causing tens of thousands of small farms to go bankrupt. A massive number of farmers lost their livelihoods and flocked to the outskirts of Tehran in search of work. At this point, the social structure fractured into two halves. In northern Tehran, the elite enjoyed a luxurious European-style life. Meanwhile, in the south, the working poor were crammed into neighborhoods lacking basic infrastructure, enduring hyperinflation. The ever-widening wealth gap, combined with the government's restriction on freedom of speech and the role of the clergy, caused the flames of discontent to smolder within the hearts of a people fiercely proud of their religion and culture. The climax of this fracture manifested in an event in October 1971. To celebrate the 2500th anniversary of the empire's founding, the Shah hosted an incredibly lavish and colossal party at the ruins of Persepolis. In the middle of the arid desert, a tent city was erected using fine silk. The world's top chefs were flown in to serve dozens of heads of state the most extravagant Western dishes. This banquet was designed to flaunt the dynasty's greatness to the world, but it severely backfired domestically. For the citizens struggling with hunger and the clergy concerned about the erosion of Islamic morality, the party was a symbol of sheer wastefulness and a total disconnect from the spiritual and daily realities of the people. The Pahlavi dynasty had unwittingly cut the last thread binding them to their own subjects. When a nation feels its cultural and religious identity is being eclipsed by external forces, what do? They return to their deepest roots to find themselves again. In 1978, Iranian history witnessed one of the greatest mass revolutions of the 20th century. Millions of people from all walks of life, students, intellectuals, small merchants in the bazaar, and the devout masses took to the streets. The common thread connecting them was the desire to end dependence on Western powers, reclaim social justice, and achieve national independence. Under the spiritual leadership of Grand Ayatollah Khomeini, who delivered his fiery sermons via cassette tapes, the movement generated an unstoppable force. On February 11, 1979, the 500-year-old monarchy officially came to an end. Instead of following a Western secular democratic model or a socialist one, Iran chose an unprecedented path. They established the Islamic Republic based on the concept of Velayat-e-Faqih, the guardianship of the Islamic jurist. This was a monumental effort to combine the institutions of a modern republic featuring a president and an elected parliament with the supreme guidance of religious leaders, ensuring that state laws were rooted in the moral foundation of Sharia law. They were determined to build an autonomous society, rejecting both Eastern and Western influences of the time, encapsulated in the famous slogan, "Neither East nor West, only the Islamic Republic," over 4 decades later. That path of independence has not been paved with roses. Iran faces severe international sanctions, economic development challenges a brain drain among its youth, and ecological crises as groundwater depletes due to industrialization demands. In particular, modern Iranian society is undergoing a profound internal dialogue and sometimes violent clashes. Today's Iranian youth, born after the revolution, well-educated and connected to global technology, yearn for a connection with the outside world and broader personal freedoms. Images of social movements, such as the protests surrounding the traditional dress code, hijab, in 2022, are expressions of the friction between a segment of the population's desire for integration and the state's efforts to maintain foundational religious values. It is the struggle of a society constantly seeking an equilibrium between preserving the sacred Islamic faith and meeting the demands of the digital age. Iran's existence has never been a monotonous tune. Throughout 2,500 years, the history of this nation has been a continuous interweaving of dazzling glories and turbulent turning points between ancient Eurasian identity and intense Islamic devotion. Most recently, the world has once again held its breath looking at the Middle East as flashes of light from airstrikes and intense military conflicts between Israel, the US, and Iran lit up the night sky. The geopolitical chessboard is violently shaking again, bringing anxieties of devastation and instability looming over this nation. However, when looking at the long history of Iran, we learn a profound lesson in resilience. This nation has faced the mightiest empires, endured the most brutal invasions by the Arabs and the Mongols, and now confronts the storms of a new era. Like those qanat groundwater veins hidden deep beneath the arid desert soil, the soul of the Iranian people always knows how to adapt, silently moving and preserving its lifeblood through the harshest of trials. Bombs can destroy modern concrete blocks. Sanctions can destabilize the economy, but they cannot easily wipe out a civilization that has taken root over thousands of years. I am Robert Langdon from Reconstruction History. Thank you for opening your minds and joining us through this deeply reflective, religious, and historical journey of Iran. If you found this story valuable, don't forget to leave your profound thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to decode the world together. See you in the next chapters of history.